Virgo, you are not going to see this one coming. And I mean that with a precision that goes beyond the ordinary use of that phrase, not in the way people say it to create excitement before delivering something that is actually quite predictable once you know the setup. In the way that is only true when the surprise arrives through a channel you were not monitoring, through a person you were not watching, through a door you did not know existed in a wall you had accepted as solid. Solid walls have been opening around you. You just have not seen it yet because the opening happened on the other side. But before I go anywhere near the specifics of what is coming, before I describe what it looks like and where it arrives from and what it is going to do to the particular morning or afternoon or ordinary Tuesday it chooses to land in, I want to tell you something about the quality of the shock itself, because not all shocks are equal. There is the shock of unwanted news, of a floor dropping out, of reality arriving in a form that requires immediate grief. Most people, when they hear the word shocking in the context of something coming toward them, brace involuntarily for that version. The bracing is rational. It is the body remembering that surprises have not always been kind. Unbrace. What is coming carries none of that quality. What is coming has the specific, rare, almost disorienting texture of something that is too good to have been planned for, too precisely right to have been anticipated, too perfectly fitted to the actual shape of what you have been quietly, persistently, sometimes almost secretly hoping for, to have arrived through anything other than the specific intelligence of a universe that has been paying closer attention to your life than you realized. Let me tell you what I noticed when I first tuned into your energy this week. There is a warmth in your field that does not belong to you alone. I want to be careful with how I say this because I do not want it to sound vague when what I actually felt was specific. When I sat with your energy, the first thing that arrived was not your energy. It was the edge of something else, something adjacent to you. Present in your field, the way a scent arrives before the source of it does you register it before you can identify it, before it has fully entered the space, but you know immediately that something is there. That something is the surprise. Already in motion, already past the point of being only a possibility, already real enough to have left an energetic impression on the landscape of your immediate future, which is how I know it is not hypothetical. Things that are still undecided do not leave this kind of warmth behind them as they move. Only things that have already been decided somewhere by someone in a moment that has already occurred, even if you do not yet know about it, produce this specific quality of presence before they arrive. The decision has been made. By whom and in what form, I am going to tell you now. There is a person, and the first thing I want to say about this person is something you may not expect me to lead with. They have been underestimated by you, not harshly, not with intention, not in the way of dismissal or deliberate disregard, in the completely natural, completely human way that people who occupy the middle distance of our lives get underestimated simply because the middle distance is not where we tend to look when we are looking for things that matter. They have been present consistently in the reliable slightly taken for granted way of someone who has not made a performance of their presence and has therefore not required your full attention to maintain their position in your world. You have seen them without fully seeing them, and they have been seeing you with a completeness and a consistency and a quality of attention that you did not know you were receiving because they were not making a production of the giving. They have watched you navigate your life with a care that you did not register as care because it did not announce itself in the forms you typically recognize care by: quiet care. The kind that does not require acknowledgement to sustain itself, the kind that simply continues below the threshold of your awareness because the person offering it is not doing it for the acknowledgement. They are doing it because of what they feel. And what they feel has reached a point where the quiet of it is no longer sufficient. They know that version, and they are not interested in anything less than the opportunity to be fully known by it in return. Let me speak to what they have been collecting. Because this person's attention over the period of time they have been in your world has been doing something that you did not know was happening. Every interaction, every ordinary exchange, every moment of proximity, every conversation that seemed to be about something mundane but was for them actually about you was adding to something: a picture, an understanding, a knowledge of you that is specific enough and complete enough to not be mistaken for infatuation or projection or the romantic tendency to see what you want to see rather than what is actually there. This is not what you want to see. This is what they have actually seen. They know about the thing you do when you are uncomfortable in a group setting, the specific way you handle it without anyone noticing you are handling it. They have clocked the difference between your public laugh and the other one. They know which topics make you go slightly quieter than usual, and they have never pushed into the quiet because they understood without being told that the quiet was yours to decide what to do with. They have been reading you for a long time with the specific quality of attention that people give to things they genuinely prize. And what they have read has not made them cautious, has not produced the particular form of hesitation that arriving at full knowledge of a person sometimes produces in people who were more comfortable with the idealized version. What they have read has made them more certain, more clear, more specifically and deliberately oriented toward the move they are now in the final stages of making. They know you, and they still want this. That combination, being fully known and being wanted anyway, being wanted because of the knowing rather than in spite of it, is the rarest gift one person can offer another. It is what is coming. The surprise is their move, something they have decided recently in the last handful of days, in a moment of private clarity that arrived without fanfare in the middle of something ordinary to stop sitting on, to stop managing, to stop allowing the comfortable indefiniteness of their current position in your awareness to be the permanent state of things when what they actually want is something more defined. What they actually want is you, not the abstract version of you that exists in someone's imagination before they truly know a person. The specific version, the one they have assembled through consistent, attentive observation over the period of time they have been present in your life, the one that includes the parts you do not perform, the voice when you are not choosing your words carefully, the specific way you respond to things when the response is reflexive rather than considered. The ordinary version of you that only people with sustained, genuine access ever get to know. They know that version. and they are not interested in anything less than the opportunity to be fully known by it in return. I want to speak to the form the surprise takes because it is going to arrive in a way that is simpler than the magnitude of what it contains would suggest. This is not going to be a grand gesture, not an orchestrated moment designed for maximum effect, not something that announces its own significance in the arriving. It is going to come in close, quietly, almost like a normal thing until the content of it registers and the content changes everything about the context. A conversation that begins ordinarily and turns a message that opens with something unremarkable and then says the thing. A moment in a shared space where something shifts in the atmosphere between you that is unmistakable once it is shifted, but that you will not see coming in the seconds before it does. The simplicity of the form is what is going to amplify the shock because you will not have your guard positioned for it, will not have composed a response in advance, will not have the managed, considered version of yourself available as a buffer between the thing being offered and your actual unfiltered, completely honest reaction to receiving it. That unfiltered reaction is going to tell you something true about how you feel. Pay attention to it before you override it with something more socially legible. That unfiltered reaction is going to tell you something true about how you feel. Pay attention to it before you override it with something more socially legible. Let me tell you what the shock actually feels like when it arrives. Not in general terms. In the body, there will be a moment of absolute stillness. Not the stillness of confusion or the stillness of someone who has just received bad news and has not yet processed it. The specific stillness of a person who has just had the ground they were standing on revealed to be something other than what they thought, something more solid, something that can hold more weight than they had been allowing themselves to put on it. That stillness lasts only a moment before the feeling arrives. And the feeling, whatever specific form it takes in you, whatever combination of warmth and relief, and the particular vulnerability of being offered something you wanted before you had given yourself full permission to want it, is going to be large. Larger than the moment can immediately contain, larger than your usual composure has experience managing, not overwhelming in a destabilizing way, overwhelming in the way of something that is simply genuinely significant and is being received by a person who has been quietly, persistently, without audience or acknowledgement, hoping for exactly this. You are going to feel it in your chest first before you know what to say, before you have decided how to respond, before any of the protective machinery that usually operates between stimulus and response has had time to engage. In that space between stimulus and response, in that specific, precious, unmanaged fraction of a moment, you will know exactly how you feel. Remember it. Because what you know in that moment is the truth. And the truth is what you will want to return to if the thinking mind later tries to complicate what was, in that fraction of a moment, completely simple. Let me speak to what the surprise does to the next chapter of your story, because this is not a contained event. It is not something that arrives, is received, and then settles into the landscape of your life without changing the landscape. It changes the landscape The specific configuration of how your daily life looks and feels and what it contains shifts in the wake of this in ways that are going to take some time to fully map. The first shift is in what is available to you. There is something this person brings practically, concretely, in the material reality of your day to day that has not been available before. This is not only emotional, it has logistical dimension. The specific kind of presence they want to have in your life changes what is possible for you in terms of support, resource, the expansion of what you can take on and attempt because you are no longer navigating it alone. For some of you, this is financial in some dimension, not necessarily dramatically, but a weight that has been entirely yours to carry, becoming a weight that is shared. The specific relief of that sharing is something I feel very clearly in the energy of what is approaching, and it is more significant than it sounds in the abstract because you have been carrying it alone for longer than was fair. For others, this is creative or professional. A door that this person is positioned to open or a conversation they are positioned to initiate that changes what is accessible to you in your work or your purpose or the expression of whatever you are building. Their presence in your life in the form they are proposing is not neutral to your larger trajectory. It accelerates something. For others, it is simply the specific, irreplaceable gift of being genuinely known by someone who chooses you with full information, who is not surprised by your complexity, who finds your contradictions interesting rather than inconvenient, who creates a context in which you do not have to manage how much of yourself you bring into the space between you. All three versions are arriving. Different people, same essential quality of gift. Now, let me say something that this reading has been building toward and that I want to deliver with the directness it deserves. You are going to want to talk yourself out of this. Not immediately, in the second phase. After the initial shock has worn off enough that the thinking mind re engages and begins doing what the thinking mind does when it has been presented with something genuinely good looking for the catch, evaluating the risk, comparing the thing being offered to the things that were offered before and did not hold up, reaching for the protective caution that has served you in the past and applying it to the present with a thoroughness that does not account for the fact that this situation is not the past. Notice when you start doing this, not to stop the noticing. The noticing is healthy, but to hold it lightly rather than letting it run unchecked until it has dismantled something real before that real thing has been given a chance to show you what it is. This is not the past presenting itself again in a new costume. This is something that does not have a precedent in your experience to be compared to something genuinely new, which means the tools you have built for evaluating what is familiar are not the right tools here. You need a different set, the set that asks not, does this match the pattern of things that hurt me before, but what is this thing actually on its own terms when I look at it clearly without the overlay of prior experience. What it is on its own terms is good. Genuinely, structurally, this is not a trick good. Your gut will confirm this if you give it a moment of genuine quiet in which to be heard. I want to speak briefly to the timing of this surprise, not to explain it cosmically, but to name something practical about it. It is arriving now because you are different now. The version of you that exists today, shaped by everything that preceded this moment, carrying the specific intelligence of someone who has navigated real difficulty with real integrity, Possessing the particular quality of self knowledge that only comes from having been tested and having stayed true is the version that this surprise is calibrated to reach. 6 months ago, it would have landed differently. The same gesture, the same offer, the same person extending the same feeling, it would have encountered a different you, not a lesser you, but a you that was still in the middle of something that needed to be completed before this could be received in the way it deserves to be received. The completion happened, not with a ceremony or a clear ending you could point to, in the slow, private, mostly invisible way that completions happen in real life. And the completion created the conditions for this. You became ready without knowing you were becoming ready. And something that had been waiting for your readiness, something that had been present and patient and sustaining itself on the long odds of your situation, eventually producing the right conditions, is now arriving to meet you. In it, there is one more thing. The people around you are going to see this before you have fully processed what it means. They are going to notice the change in your energy in the wake of it. Not because you tell them you may not, at least not immediately, because this is the kind of thing that belongs to you before it belongs to anyone's opinion of it. But because what arrives today and in the days immediately following is going to do something visible to the way you carry yourself, a lightness, not the performed, everything is fine lightness of someone managing an impression, the real kind, the kind that comes from something having actually lifted. From a space in your interior that has been occupied by a specific quality of longing or uncertainty or held breath waiting, finally being allowed to exhale. People who love you are going to exhale with you. They have been watching you hold it. They are going to notice when you let it go. Let them notice. Let this be visible. You have been invisible in your difficulty long enough. This part gets to be seen.